imagining the plug-in future, and the context of what I think is one of the most exciting times, which is we're really at the cusp of a new golden age of innovation in cars and energy of the sort we haven't seen in a century. Now, when I talk about innovation to people who are not involved with cars or energy, indeed, often to people who are involved with cars and energy, sometimes until very recently, they're stunned. When you think about the internal combustion engine and gasoline, this sort of iron nexus that's powered the 20th century economy, essentially unchanged for 100 years. And I know there have been lots of incremental technology changes, but we're talking about one combination of fuel and engine technology that has been dominant to the point of near monopoly, as Jim Woolsey pointed out. It seems odd to talk about innovation, but there was an era a century ago when there was a real rivalry between fuels. In 1900, there were more electric cars on the roads of New York than there were gasoline-powered cars. Henry Ford's Model T was a flex fuel vehicle that ran on corn ethanol or on gasoline. And so what happened? We entered a century in which one fuel became dominant. And we have come to see the geopolitical, the economic, and ultimately environmental consequences of that addiction to oil. I'm happy to report that thanks to a real confluence of forces, technological, economic, political, and environmental, we're really at a tipping point. And to help us think through what this means, this new race to fuel the car of the future, we have a wonderful panel. Just a word to my panelists and also to the questioners, because we're going to leave a lot of time for your questions as well. We have other panels looking at where we are today with the specifics of the technology. We'll be talking tomorrow about the role that federal policy and local policy can play. I ask that we lift our gaze to the horizon for a moment during our initial panel and really imagine the future, very much as one that might be different from the immediate past, and look at the sense of possibilities. What's possible with the technologies we're talking about at this inflection point, this moment of change? And I would put it, just shamelessly putting in a small plug for Zoom, the global race to fuel the car of the future. The central thesis in the book is that there is not only an extraordinary race going on to find the fuels, but that we've gone beyond just looking for one fuel. The real transformation happening that's helping move us beyond oil is the changes to the vehicle, I would argue. That is the transformation, the electrification of the car, the advances in battery technologies, onboard diagnostics that we're going to hear much more about. And in a sense, that it's not just the juice, but the jalopy that's changing. And that's really the essence of getting over the old chicken and egg problem. So with that, let me turn to the first of our panelists. They'll all give brief overview remarks, and that just to get the conversation going, and we'll continue in spirited debate, I promise you. Shai Agassi won't need an introduction to many of you, but he's, of course, a legendary entrepreneur, founder of Project Better Place. A few opening comments from you, Shai.
Thanks, Vijay. If I tell everybody to go buy Zoom, can I get an extra minute?
He knows how to work the moderator, doesn't he? All right, let's see what you got to say.
So we started with a bit of a different question at Project Better Place. Our founding question was, how do you run an entire country without oil? So start from the top down with the following question: How do you run an entire country without oil on the technologies we have today? No new science, without government assistance, so it's not paid by the taxpayer, with a time frame that is actually fast enough to get off oil before we run out of the planet. So framing question for everybody's in mind. I'll fast forward you to the end of the first chapter, which happened on January 21st of this year, 2008. For the first time, all four elements to actually get that done happened in one place, which was Jerusalem. Israel announced that it's going to get off oil within a decade. Now, what are the four elements? We had a government that stood up and said, vision-wise, we get off oil within the next decade. We drive the entire transportation sector in the country not on gasoline. We're going to go electric. They put a policy in place that was extremely simple to understand. Created a tax differential between gasoline-based cars and zero-emission cars, zero oil cars. And they didn't even specify what zero oil car, just said zero oil. And the tax differential is 60%. So it's 72% for gasoline cars, 10% for electric cars. And what they said now is this is going to be in place until 2019. And if more people are going to buy the 10% tax cars, we're going to start raising both prices up. So at the end, we want to be at least 50%. So they said at 5110, we're going to stop. So that gives us the tax we want. Then we had a car maker. We actually had the CEO, the only CEO in the car industry that actually is a CEO of 2 car companies. Carlos Ghosn, he's the CEO of Renault and Nissan, 2 different continents, stood up and said, we're committed to building these cars, electric cars, fully electric, zero oil, not even a place to put oil. And we're going to make them fast, we're going to make them fun to drive, they're going to be full size, we're going to make many of them different sizes, different cars. They're going to go 100 plus miles on a single charge on the battery, and they're going to have a feature which is a replaceable battery. So you can actually exchange the battery if you want to go beyond the distance of a single battery. So these cars have 2 conduits of energy into them. The first one, which is used normally most of the time, is you park your car, you plug it in, you walk away. Time you came back, car is full. The second way is you want to drive a long distance. Instead of activating a power plant in the back of your car, you go into a car park, into a device that looks like car wash. And as you go into a gas station, your depleted battery goes out, a full battery comes in, and you keep driving. In a sense, the range extension is not inside the car, it's in the infrastructure. Just like it is today with gasoline. We don't drive with a second gas tank to extend the range of our cars. We use the gas stations to do it. Now, that led to and by the way, he said, we're running this through the normal programs in Renault and Nissan. This is now about $1 billion of investment in Renault and Nissan. Not to make 1,000 of these, but to build a car that goes through the entire production cycle, so we can make 100,000, 1 million, or 10 million of them, depending on demand. And those will be in the market. By 2011 will be mass production. 2010 production, 2011 mass production. Mass production being supply meets demand. The third element was what Better Place does. We actually build the network. If you want to think of Renault Nissan as Nokia, we're AT&T. So what we said is you can't get these cars to be convenient until you have electricity in every parking spot. So we put parking spots, electric parking spots, everywhere you have a parking spot. Across Israel, we'll put 500,000 spots of electricity in parking lots, mostly at work, at home, downtown, and retail. So when you park your car, you walk away, you come back, it's full. No credit card passing. If you want, you have a SIM inside your car. And we buy the batteries, so you don't have the risk of the battery. We buy a lot of batteries, as some of the battery makers here will tell you. And what we do is we price it for the consumer in a way that is more affordable. We introduced a new business model just like the cell phone companies. You can today buy your cell phone, own your cell phone, and not commit to a plan. Then you pay the full price. But if you commit to a plan, you get a very interesting discount model. So with our cars in Israel, if you're willing to pay what you pay for the drive on gasoline today at the price at the pump today, not even with price rises in the future, what you pay today, and you sign up for a 4-year plan, you get a full-blown electric car, sedan, for free to drive. If you want to drive it as much as you want, we have a plan that is sort of Metro PCS. You pay an extra $50 a month, drive all you want. And with that plan in place, we created a new segment in the car industry called 0-0. Zero emission, $0 to drive. 0-0 actually changes the dynamics of the market, because if you have the option of going in and picking up a used car and paying gasoline, or buying a new car, paying nothing for it, and paying the same amount of money to drive, you don't want a used car. If nobody wants a used car, nobody wants a new car. So in effect, we created a new segment that changes the dynamics of the market. Now all this are the 3 elements that happen. We're putting the infrastructure in the ground, we're putting the swap stations in the ground, we're buying the batteries, and this story is interesting because of the 4th element.